Here are the freshmen I'm most excited to play with in the new EA College Football 25 video game. Starting it off with the one, the only Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith was the #1 player in the country, #1 wide receiver, #1 player in Florida. And guess what? He is the #2 recruit all-time in Ohio State history, just behind Quinn Ewers, funny enough. Yes, out of all the history of Ohio State's wide receivers coming in, he is the highest ranked. This kid might be the most dynamic playmaker to ever step foot on Ohio State's campus, which is crazy to say. In all seriousness, this kid is being looked at as a potential, not even maybe potential, he most likely will be a generational prospect at wide receiver. Someone we will be talking about a long time from now. And something you can do if you decide to play with Ohio State or whatever, I'm not judging, but Ohio State freshman has never had 500 receiving yards. You can do that, and with Jeremiah Smith. Now the receiving room is loaded at Ohio State. The running back room is loaded. The quarterback can run the ball. So there's a lot of people that can get the ball, which is why he may not pop off like a lot of people expect necessarily this first year. But in the game, you can make him pop off. Once Ennis and Ibuka leave, you got the main guy. Sorry, I almost forgot you, Carnell Tate. I didn't forget you. I'm just saying, this kid has it all. One-hand catches, body control, routes like a senior would run. 6'3", 215, already got the body. He's fast, he's strong, and he is going to destroy defenses. Next, and this isn't homerism, this kid is legit. Cam Coleman from Phoenix City, Alabama, Auburn. Cam Coleman is a 5-star wide receiver, #5 player in the country, #2 wide receiver behind Jeremiah Smith, who we just talked about, and the #1 player from Alabama. He is 6'3", 180 pounds. He was called the Calvin Johnson of Alabama high school football this past year. He is the highest rated offensive player in Auburn history as a commit. Coleman comes in with a loaded wide receiver room for Auburn, but he will most likely be the main guy, unlike Jeremiah Smith, who has a bunch of good vets in front of him. Athletic ability and the ability to just go up and get the 50-50 is unmatched. His straight line speed is incredible. If he can get to top end speed, boy, you do not want to let him do that. His ability to create separation is magnificent. His size is just, he's big. He's just a big dude. He already looks like he's been in a college weight program for years. It's like Smith, we're looking at a potential first-round draft pick wide receiver here. So he's going to be super fun to play with at Auburn. Coleman is also Auburn's first 5-star wide receiver since Ben Obamanu in 2002. Long time coming on the Plains for talent like Cam. I like saying that again. Crazy enough, if you're playing with Cam Coleman and building out through his career, only 2 players in Auburn history have even reached 1,000 yards receiving in a single season. As we know, Auburn is historically a ground and pound defensive team, so you can do things never done before with Cam Coleman at Auburn. Yes, it's been 25 years since we've had a 1,000-yard receiver. Thank God for this freshman class. Next, Dylan Raiola, Nebraska, electric. 5-star quarterback, #7 player nationally, #2 quarterback in the class, and the #1 player out of Georgia, or all the states he lived in, basically. This kid's arm is insane. At the size, too, he's 6'3", 230 already. Not even in the strength program. Well, now he's in the strength program, but do you see what I'm saying? Also talking about within the game, the best thing about Raiola in this game is leading him in Nebraska, becoming the savior of Nebraska in the game with a 5-star freshman leading through his career. You can play through all of that. Going to be a difference maker down the road, and especially in your dynasty, leading with him is going to be so much fun. 63.6 completion percentage his senior year, 2,819 yards. Listen to this, 34 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also threw 4 touchdowns in 5 different games. Once he hit the spring game, he even went off in Nebraska. 16 for 22, 239 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Ready to play, and there's going to be a lot of hype around this kid at Nebraska. And the reason I really love it is because his dad, Dominic Raiola, was an All-American in 2000, the starting center for Nebraska. And his uncle, Donovan Raiola, is currently the offensive line coach for Nebraska. Family legacy is just so cool. I love seeing when kids do this. I know their recruiting was crazy with Georgia, but when someone follows where their dad went or whatever, and a place that kind of needs saving, this is awesome. It's just an awesome story in real life and for you to play through in the game. Next, we have Ryan Williams from Saraland, Alabama. He actually reclassified to the 2024 class from the #1 receiver in 2025, so he is the #3 receiver in this class behind Jeremiah Smith and Cam Coleman. #8 player nationally after reclassifying, and the 2nd player in Alabama. This kid is the real deal. I call him the Swiss Army knife of football. One of the most legendary Alabama high school players of all time. Already, yes. The only player in Alabama history to win Mr. Alabama 2 times. That's basically like the Alabama high school football Heisman. 4,600 all-purpose yards, 65 touchdowns, 2 seasons with Saraland. His vertical speed is insane. Put him anywhere at receiver, anywhere, and he will make plays for you and get you yards and score. It's ridiculous. Like I said, he's the Swiss Army knife of football. You watch this kid play, and your jaw just drops. You're like, how does he do this? How does he keep doing this? Just like the other receivers I've talked about, we're talking about a most likely first-round draft pick NFL wide receiver. This class is insane. In the state championship game that they lost, he put up punt return for a touchdown, a kick return for a touchdown, and 3 other touchdowns for 343 all-purpose yards. I'm trying to tell you, just how to comprehend this kid. You're going to watch him once he flourishes, and you're just going to be mind blown. And I hate saying this as an Auburn fan. Only wide receiver who was rated higher than him to commit to Alabama, Julio freaking Jones. Just think of all the other legendary Alabama wide receivers that came in that he's rated higher than. I can imagine him just being a cheat code in this new college football game, especially like a year into an online dynasty. Micah Hudson, Texas Tech. This story is awesome, and I can't wait to play with Micah in the game. Gonna be great to play with a team like Tech, especially for an online dynasty. Super underrated team. I may have to put them in a future dynasty underrated video. Hudson is the first 5-star commit ever in Texas Tech history. Number 25 player nationally, number 5 wide receiver, and number 4 player out of Texas. Tech to land Micah over schools like Texas, A&M, and Oklahoma is huge. Now, something that does help a lot, which I love to see, this is a case like Dylan Raiola's, is his dad was Desmond Royal, who was a defensive lineman at Texas Tech from 1985 to 1988. Now, he didn't get to play in spring because he had a surgery related back due to high school, but he's basically back with the team for the summer, which is great news. Hope he's doing well. 6 foot 190, an absolute playmaker. He can play outside if you want him to be X, or he can go even in slot. He's not the biggest guy, but he's said to have sneaky strength, and he's got a great build. Apparently, his ability to make mid-air catches and just adjust his body are second to none. Acceleration is off the charts, and he's basically got A-plus hands. He's the kind of guy with a hitch or a slant 5 yards in. He's got that cutback speed. He'll make you regret it immediately, especially if those safeties split. He's gone. Senior year, he had 70 receptions for 1,370 yards, 18 touchdowns, and an average of 19.6 yards per catch. He was basically the freshman who came into high school football, starred out, and everyone knew who he was for 4 years. This is a real playmaker in Lubbock. This kid was made to play for Texas Tech with how he plays the receiver position. He is going to be so much fun to play in the game and fun to watch in real life. About his journey on that game, he's the kind of guy 2 years into your online dynasty or even a year, people are like, oh man, I should have picked Tech. Next, we have DJ Lagway, the #1 quarterback who committed to Florida. Now, one thing I want to say, this is for the game, so it'd be super fun to plug and play Lagway in EA College Football 25. But let's not forget Graham Mertz for a second before we go on to this, because I just want to say Graham Mertz was the most underrated quarterback in college football last year. He's a good player, just on a shit team. But in real life, there may be a possibility if things go south for Napier to throw Lagway in to try to help himself. But in the game, obviously, that stuff does not matter, and you can plug Lagway in if you want. He's a dual-threat quarterback with an arm like a god. Obviously, usually when you can chunk that thing, you got accuracy issues, but it's not terrible. But for college football, he definitely needs to clean that up a little bit, so we can obviously try to improve that in the game. He is Florida's 4th highest rated offensive commit of all time, and yes, higher than Tim Tebow. He set the Texas Class 6A single season record for touchdown passes, while leading his team to its best record in 60 years. The game, this is a guy with his dual threat capabilities. You can create Anthony Richardson on steroids, basically. Now, I hope you're sticking around this late in the video, because I got Justin Williams, linebacker, going to Georgia. Before I say, oh, Georgia. Yeah, Georgia's had incredible linebackers recently. You want to know something even crazier about this kid, especially to play with him in the game, to build on? He was the #1 linebacker in the 2024 class. Not just that. He is the highest rated linebacker Georgia has signed in the Kirby Smart era. Think of all the linebackers they've had. Justin is the 10th highest rated recruit all time in Georgia history. There's another player on Georgia. I might highlight him later in another video. Just want to let you know the #2 player in the history of Georgia, Ellis Robinson, is a corner. But I just had to talk about Justin Williams because he's the highest rated linebacker in the Kirby Smart era. Is that not crazy to think about? Still, it's hard to wrap my mind around. 6'2", 205, good frame. Running track and field obviously helped him because he is just quick to the ball. His history with his speed allows him incredible range from sideline to sideline, which is going to be awesome to have in the game if you're even allowed to play with Georgia. Basically, if you get through, you're probably not going to break to the next level because he's going to catch you down. He's not every normal linebacker. He can keep pace with you.